Hey, what is up, everybody? Sean here with another personal fitness journey update. Week 22 complete, coming close to the end here of my projected journey. I was normally anticipating here about 6 months of fitness transformation while I was deployed. So the deployment is quickly coming to an end. Whether or not I continue to do these videos afterwards is still debatable. I don't know if there'll be much value or if I'll have time to continue to commit to it. A lot of not necessarily free time here, but there's not a lot to do other than work out while deployed. So we'll see what the real world offers me when I get back to a home station. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. If you've watched these videos before, you know the drill. We'll talk about the exercises I've done each day, the progress week over week, and the meals that I've used to accompany those fitness workouts. And then at the end, talk about where I'm looking for progress as far as weight and percent body fat, those type of things. All right, so with that, we'll get started. So just as a reminder, here's what it's typically set up as. I've got three rotating exercise groups: arm day, leg day, full body, rotate it around. And then, of course, Saturday is the cardio day. And that cardio day also coincides with a fasting day. So no food at all on Saturday. So long fast. And then this is just a little more information about that fast schedule. Every day, I'm at least eating breakfast, but every other day, just eating breakfast and then breakfast, lunch, and dinner until we get to Friday. Depending on if it's a breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Friday, it'll be a 36-hour fast till Sunday. Or if I only eat breakfast on that Friday, it'll be a 48-hour fast until breakfast on Sunday. This past week here was a 36-hour fast. So I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Friday. Currently at the end of Saturday here. So working through the fast, I'll be able to eat again in Sunday morning. All right. So where did my workouts take me this week? So starting off with arm day, the first exercises of the week, I really didn't make any progress here. And I did that on purpose for the most part because this was coming off of a 48-hour fast. And in general, I don't have a lot of energy to commit to making progress on these days coming off the long fast. I have modified my schedule slightly where I'm eating a banana and basically 2 tablespoons of honey first thing when I get up, let it digest for 30 minutes, and then go work out just so I have something in my system to give me a little bit of energy to working out. But again, even that's not a lot when we're talking about coming off of a 48-hour fast. So at least if I maintain, I'm happy coming off of that first exercise. So as you see here, basically week over week, from the last couple of weeks here, not a lot of progress, especially since the last session. No green, no red, which I'll take no red. As far as the diet for that day, this was a kind of a weird way that this lines up. I have the 48-hour fast, so I basically eat breakfast on Friday, don't eat anything on Saturday, and then eat breakfast on Sunday. But because the way it resets every 2 weeks, it's also a day where I don't eat anything other than breakfast on Sunday. So with that, there's a natural calorie delta deficit of about 300 calories just because it's incredibly hard to eat more than 2,000 plus calories in a single meal, especially when you're talking about working out on top of that. So what did I eat? And that 300 calorie deficit was also including some of the less healthy foods like that chocolate donut up there, which not only was chocolate icing, but also had the chocolate filling on the inside. But other than that, everything else is pretty healthy. Got the protein with the eggs and tuna. I had some grains with the oatmeal and some rice that was available. Some fruits. Bananas are not pictured in here just because I didn't take pictures of the bananas for every morning. It's a separate meal, but I didn't want to just take a picture every day of banana. So no pictures of it, but there is one that I ate. chickpeas, primarily doing that for the fiber, milk for some dairy, some Greek yogurt, and of course some honey in there to give me that energy at the beginning of the day. I also have the technical days that should be honey times 4 because I have the 2 honey when I first wake up and then 2 that I throw in my coffee on these days. All right, day 2. Again, this is coming off of a at least 24-hour fast. Didn't really push that much in this case to progress. Even so, if you saw my last video, it's getting really hard to progress any further with a squat, deadlift, trying to push that 750-pound club. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I may at this point just call it quits on that, just because eventually I might be able to hit 750 pounds combined deadlift, squat, and bench press. But the progress is not fast enough to be able to do it in the next 3 weeks. I was able to go up a little bit more on the bench press. So in order to get to the 750-pound club, I needed to increase my personal maxes, my for 1 rep max for each of the exercises by about 60 pounds each. I was able to push it by 30 pounds during a test for the bench press. Squat, it's ugly, but I'm able to get 60 pounds there, so that one's good to go. Deadlift, I haven't made any progress there, so I still have another 60 pounds. I don't think I can make another 60 pounds in 3 weeks, or using the squat and the other exercises to make up for that deficit. I'll see where I'm going next week and then make it a final determination. If I can hit an additional 30 on top of the bench press when I really push myself, it might be possible, but otherwise I may just shift to losing a little bit more weight in these last couple of weeks. But as you can see here, a breakdown from the last session, no progress. In fact, from the previous session before that as well, no additional progress. With the exception, I think, of nope, not even the lunge. So the last 3 sessions, no changes. I'm continuing to do the 3 miles each night, which I actually did hit my other goal, the 300 miles in this 6-month deployment. 5 months in, I finally hit 300 miles for running. So I got the t-shirt participation trophy for that. So happy with that. But I'm still continuing to do the 3 miles each night just to burn a few extra calories and at least get the cardio into the workout, try to get my breathing more regulated because I've increased my speed quite a bit by incorporating all that cardio. All right, so what did I do for food? In general, across the board, a lot of protein. On these eating days, I also get a lot of vegetables. I also get a lot of fruit. Eating a lot of vegetables on the feeding days or the breakfast, lunch, and dinner days, just because I don't get a lot of it during the breakfast only days, just because it's limited available. But it did double up with the yogurts and the milks. Again, throwing in those chickpeas for some additional fiber. Did have some rice, some mushrooms, and some peas in there for some additional vegetables besides the salad that I normally eat. And of course, always throwing in those V8s. Pretty well balanced as far as the fruits as well. And of course, the eggs there should have technically been scrambled, but not fried, but same difference. All right, so where did that leave me for the exercise on day 3? Remember, if you watched the video, I actually did hit my 1.5-mile goal of running in less than 11 minutes. I hit it at 10:58. This one, I was a little bit slower. The wind was pretty heavy here where I'm at. Slowed me down a little bit, but I'm not too far off. It's not like this spike that I had a couple weeks ago where it bumped me up to 12 minutes again. I was also feeling slightly under the weather. Have been sleeping the last couple of nights. Had a lot of late nights at work interfering with that, but that's excuses. Everything else was essentially the same. No changes in those exercises, but I did change it for the last rotation here. We'll talk about that in a couple slides. The calorie delta, again, this was a breakfast only day. So I had about a 600 calorie deficit when you throw in the run, but it's Tuesday, taco day. That typically includes some extra calories coming in from the tortilla. Threw in some Swiss cheese just to have some a little bit healthier cheese thrown in there for some flavor. Everything else, the yogurt, the fruits, did get a little bit of vegetables in there because we're talking about some lettuce and tomatoes that were available for the breakfast burrito. But other than that, pretty straightforward. Now, I do want to point out for the exercises for Tuesday, normally I go to a boxing class. Again, wasn't necessarily feeling the best, and it actually worked out because the instructor didn't show up. So got off that one easy, but normally I would actually have a even higher deficit on that Tuesday just because the boxing burns a whole lot of calories doing that. Day 4. So this one I did make a little bit of progress. I didn't include it on the slide for the bench press, but I did do my 1 rep max test. I kept increasing the weight until I got there, and that was about 165. So 135 is where, when I did the 500-pound club, was where I did my bench press. So bumping it up about 30 pounds is progress, but it's not enough progress yet. All the other exercises there, you can see there's a little bit of green. And then the tricep curls, that one, it's green for the weights because I hit my 10 reps consistently for the previous week. That means bump up the weight. And then that last set, I drop down the total reps. Now, the tricep curl was a little bit of an anomaly there just because doing the tricep curl, taking the weight, putting it behind my head. Usually I try to do the weights that have the wide base, a flat bottom, but the gym here only has the weights at the 70 pounds that are longer. So it's really hard to get a good grip in case something, give a wider base to grab the weight over my head. Basically, as I'm grabbing it, I'm rounding out the weight. Not a great way to hold it when it's holding it over my head, but I was able to pump out at least 5 there. May look at other options, a way to do a tricep curl there, just because I don't like using that weight. They do happen to have a 75-pound weight that has the flatter, wider base, but I don't know if I can do that for 5 reps for the tricep curl. So we'll see where we go with that one. I may just go back down to the 50 pounds and 60 pounds and it just increase the reps overall, just because I don't feel safe using that set of weights. Other than that, have a slight calorie surplus based off the food you see here. It was supposed to be a meat lasagna in that picture, but it was a lot of cheese. Other than that, everything else is essentially the same. A lot of chickpeas in here to try to get that fiber. Did have some cheesecake to push me through as a reward to keep going. But even with that, still only about a 300 calorie surplus. Definitely hitting my protein intake for the day for the chicken wings, the tuna, the eggs. So not necessarily worried about that. Good balance of fruit, good balance of vegetables. Everything else is essentially the same. Day 5. I was really not feeling it on day 5. Didn't sleep at all, coughing most of the night. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it's air quality here isn't the best. But with that, I basically got up to go to the gym, tried to do a couple squats at first, couldn't do really what I was doing previously, and said, okay, I'm not going to hurt myself. My knees are hurting. I didn't sleep well. I'm not going to get a full workout. And I decided to just take a rest day. 0 progress on it for that day. Later in the afternoon, in the evening, I did still go for a 3-mile run. Again, my knees are feeling a little bit better, but didn't want to do the heavy lifting. Food, it was a breakfast only day, so I think that technically should have been negative 500 calories for the day. But other than that, a lot of fruit. Got the grapes, got the kiwi was a good one. They had that available. Had still got the banana for breakfast. I did try to get up for breakfast, get up and do the exercise. So I had my banana and my honey, but ultimately it didn't work out. And there's just extra food that I ate at that point. Did have some peanut butter cookie in the beginning. Again, wasn't feeling well, so figured that'd make me feel a little bit better. Did get an avocado for vegetables, so that was a plus. But everything else is actually the same. All right, day 6. This was going back to the run. I think having the rest day helped because I did bump back down to under 11 minutes for my 1.5 and actually improved my best score, which was 10:58. I also made a change here where a lot of the exercises that I was doing essentially one set of, I bumped it up to 2 sets, dropped down the total amount of reps per set. So, for example, straight leg lifts, I was previously doing 30 reps of that, but only one set. Knee raises, I was doing 30 reps, but only one set. So I increased the amount of sets, decreased the amount of weight or repetitions, which ultimately resulted in higher total when you combine the reps and the sets, the total number of exercises being done. And then for food, again, did need to get a little bit of a surplus in there. Some of the surplus came from some empty calories or the peach cobbler with a whole bunch of ice cream loaded on top of it, and then it mostly ice cream melted. But everything else was essentially healthy for the day. And that brings us to day 7, which is what we did today. Again, this is one of the days where I don't eat. I did increase the number of floors I did with the stair stepper, but everything else was the same for the sprint run intervals. So that stayed the same. I may do something moving forward where either I increase this sprint time. I don't know if I can increase the speed much, but essentially it's stagnant since I've started here, other than that first week. So I'll figure out something to make progress here. Other than that, just doing my 3-mile runs at the evening as well to burn a few more calories. Huge calorie delta deficit for the day, again, coming from no food, which mentioned here, no food. All right, so where does that leave me? In this situation, I lost 0.1 pounds, so negligible amount of weight loss. Puts me at a total of 32 pounds lost since I started. Waist, no change there, but I am 6.5 inches down from when I started. You can definitely see a huge difference between the top left and bottom week 0 versus week 22. I am still using that base calories of 2100 as a calculation. Based off of that, though, the delta each day would have been about 4,000, which should have been about a pound and a little bit more than a pound lost. So every week it's different here. I can't figure that out. I don't even know if it's worth tracking that. Essentially, if I wanted to only lose 0.1 pound or sustain, it would be my calories burned for the day would be about 1,700. That seems a little bit low. I don't know, maybe my metabolism has been adjusted, but 1,700 calories, if I do that and use that as a calculation, then the math works out, the maths. I don't know if that's the case or not. The bulk of my low weight was from those first 2 days. So last week, Saturday, was coming off of a 24-hour fast. The second day was coming off of the other fast. So between those two was a 48-hour fast. Getting some food after Sunday obviously bumped my weight up. And then from there, it's the regular pattern that we normally see. As far as the body fat, I'm up about 0.4% in the body fat, and my weight was up about 2 pounds if you look at it on the scale. Again, I don't want to necessarily lose much more, but I don't want to gain either. We'll see where we're at. And I may actually shift that and shift to focusing on losing weight if I decide to abandon my efforts for the 750-pound club. But overall, that's what I have for this week. I hope this was beneficial for you, especially if anybody is watching these videos and going through a similar journey themselves. Feel free to leave some messages in the comments. And other than that's all I have. I hope to see you in the next video.